It's Monday. My energy's high. I got to see a lot of our community in Miami this past week. It was really nice just to be back in person, to feel human again. And, you know, as I always said, like COVID had a lot of different experiences for different people. But for us super extroverted people that get energy from other people, man, this has been tough. And I thank all of you guys for sharing your energy on these Zoom screens. So I'm interested to see how many people drop off when I say this today. We are going to be doing Zoom rooms today. So that will require most of you to turn your cameras on. So I'm watching that number and I'm watching all the names. So if you leave because you have to turn your camera on, I'll know. Guys know I'm always watching. So, you know, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, right? The continuation of a relationship after closing. Hit yes if you actually have a plan on how you stay in touch with people after closing. One person. Two people. I think so. Okay. So now there's two parts of this that I want everyone to think about. If fundamentally you know that 90% of your business comes from your past clients and centers of influence, as they say, you either fail to plan or plan to fail. What does that tell you? You're automatically, for everyone who did not hit yes, you're losing money, flat out. So that's one. Congratulations, Morgan. And the second part is for the people that say yes, do your clients actually know that you have a plan? Have you shared it with them? Justin, Kimberly, right? For the people that have a plan, like, do your clients expect this, right? Like, do they understand what the communication is, what's going to happen, and all the things after that? No. Okay, good. So look, we're going to go through this today, and then I'm going to break you guys up into Zoom rooms when Rachel comes here, because she's the orchestrator of all great things here. And we're going to go through this, right? So what I want to make sure my outcome for you guys today is to understand this: how to build, maintain, and grow every single relationship you have, right? And before I pull up my deck and we go through all the specifics of this, write this word down and obsess over this all day, every single day, right? Write down lifetime value of a customer. If that's not what you're thinking about as you're transacting, you're planning your marketing plans and everything else like that, you're missing the boat. In talking to thousands of you guys all around the country for years, I said, how many people actually track, understand the lifetime value of a customer or even a relationship, right? Like, I know Kimberly works with a lot of financial people, right? Like a financial advisor, that person, the lifetime of that relationship for her could be $1 million+ over the course of that one person's time on planet, we would say, assuming Kimberly stays in touch with them every single time, right? Josh Muncie. Josh works with a lot of developers, right? These people transact and they continue to build. When they're done building, they do the same thing. Same thing with Justin. The lifetime value of that relationship could be $1 million or more. So now let's flip this around. How much money have you lost by not maintaining your relationships? Because there is no plan, there is no purpose, and the other person doesn't know, right? So let me pull up my deck here. Can someone just confirm that you see my deck? Or,
just see your logo.
okay. Okay. So Do you guys see goal of DTR talk? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So look, the DTR talk, define the relationship. You know, in life, there are times in life where relationship is clearly defined and then it becomes undefined, right? And then it just becomes weird, right? So, like, if I know someone through one context, I know you as a professional real estate agent. And now we've gone through this relationship throughout. But what really happens after? So, when I asked you guys prior to this, have you shared this with your clients? The reason I asked that is if they don't know what to expect next, how normal, how natural can this all really be? So really, when is the best time to define this, right? The time to talk about this is around when they get the clear to close or the closing is scheduled, right? We're going to talk about buyers right now, right? And same thing kind of with sellers. There's that peak point of every transaction where the people are really, really happy, right? And you want to do this at this point because a couple things, right? When the closing is generally scheduled, everyone is really excited, right? Like the file's cleared to close, the sellers are ready to move, the buyers are ready to move in, everything's being planned. That's the time to have this conversation, right? Because at this point, A, they still need you, B, you still communicate with them almost every single day, and C, the relationship is still defined, right? So make sure that this is an actual conversation. The second part about this is thank them, right? How do you really have this conversation, right? You have to first start off with gratitude, right? And look, there are two types of clients here. They're the types of clients that are just business. And then they're the types of clients that are like, I would say, most people that share in a real estate transaction more than just a transaction, right? Thank them for the opportunity of working together and connecting with more than just real estate. No one is obligated to share anything with you. And in the course of a transaction, how much stuff do people really share with you? Right? They share their hopes, their dreams, their desires, their future plans, their finances. And they trust you, right? Do you share that kind of information with a stranger? Yes or no, guys?
No.
No, right? Now, do you share that with someone that you have a relationship with? Yes. Do you share that with someone you trust? Yes. And if they thought the relationship was transactional, they would never share that, right? Like if I just met Fran, I wouldn't share all this stuff about my life. Excuse me. So thank them for the opportunity of working together. Now, look, a lot of real estate, sports, anything is having the essential skills to do the simple things really well, right? But again, like I opened and asked you, like, how many have a plan? How many share this? This might be the most basic thing, but this is something that could make you tens of thousands of dollars more. Pop the big question. Would it be okay if we stayed in touch? Right? I think I'm one slide ahead of you guys. Do you guys see how to open on the screen?
It's showing two slides at once.
Yeah, it says the next slide and current slide.
Okay, so you guys, okay, that's fine. So you see my screen, which is okay. So how to open. I'm having technical difficulties this morning, so thank you. When you say pop the big question, would it be okay if we stayed in touch, right? Now you're asking somebody's permission, correct? And if you're in a relationship with somebody, you've shared a lot of personal information, what do you think the answer to that question is going to be?
Of course.
Of course, right? And remember, go back to the point where it's the high point of the transaction. They still need you. You still have to fulfill doing the walkthrough and other things related to the transaction. It's a peak point of pleasure and excitement for somebody, and the relationship's defined. Would it be okay if we stayed in touch? Now, how many of you guys have told all of us, your coach, your colleagues, your team leaders, your friends, I don't want to call them. I don't want to inconvenience them. I don't even know what to say. Well, if you pop the big question and ask them for their permission, then every single time you call them, would it be a little less weird? 100%, right? Now, when you guys think about this, right, you have to pop the question and then you have to add value. So how do we talk through adding value? Well, what do you think is valuable, right? I'm going to go to the chat box for this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. What's valuable to somebody after they move into a house?
Local happenings, local events.
Referrals for people they may need to help do work in the house.
All right, guys. Well, what happens? So referrals, doctors, preferred vendors, local events. Kimberly, unmute yourself for a second. Since you work with a lot of other clients that aren't residential, right? What's important to somebody who's a financial like spreadsheet person? What would they find valuable?
Well, they actually, a lot of them want to keep up to date with what's going on in the market. Some people, a lot of people though do ask me, as someone said on the call, for referrals of different things, whether it's a painter, a contractor, or if I do recommend somebody, like right now, I just recommended a contractor for someone. We're going to list their apartment. But if it was a buyer, I would say, oh, I would love to see it after. You know, I want to make sure. And they'll invite me over. Oh, come over. I want to show you my beautiful apartment. You know, and that's how you kind of keep going.
Okay, guys, now I want you in Compass entrepreneurial fashion here, CEP, learning from reality. Do you guys all do the same thing over and over again? Hey, everyone nod their head yes.
Of course.
Exactly. So make sure, there's Josh. Make sure that you have your list made, right? Make sure you understand what these things are, what the triggered sequence is, and track everything, right? Like every time, like you guys all should have a Google Doc that says things customers ask for. Every time someone asks for something, make sure to put it on the list, right? There's playing defense and there's playing offense. If I knew what that list was, right? Every time I work with you guys, what I'm looking for all the time is patterns in your business. There's always a pattern. Once you start looking at things, people have patterns of behaviors. Consumers have patterns of behaviors. And you realize every person moving into a home is going through 80% the same exact experience. The difference between planning a scalable business and a business where you feel overwhelmed is the thought process that you apply to each scenario. I'll give you an example. If we know that people moving to apartments in New York City had the same 5 basic needs, because I've tracked it based on my feedback, I could set an automated sequence that says day 1, they get this, day 7, they get this. This is when I call, and it becomes very systematic, right? I'm proactively working now, and I'm not reactively answering my phone. Like, oh my God, my client called and just moved, right? This is offense versus defense, right? I'll give you guys another example. I've lived in Westport, Connecticut. I moved here in, I think, August of 2019, right? And I still don't know what goes on here. My neighbor yesterday, right? Our kids are all riding bikes and stuff. And we go to the park and he's like, hey, do you know about this, 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 and this? And I'm like, I had no idea about it. So we left our kids with our wives and he took me for this tour. He showed me about a pool, like they have in Westport, they have Longshore. Longshore used to be a country club. There's a golf course, there's a pool, there's sailing lessons, there's tennis, and it's all like pretty much free to people that live here. And now, mind you, this pool looks like it's in like a $20 million house. It's a pool right on the Long Island Sound, right? I didn't know about any of this stuff. And the guy spent 45 minutes driving me around a place I've lived in for a year and a half, educating me on all these things that I had no idea about. How many of your clients have the same scenario happen to them? Right? I'm not alone. This is value, right? And if you look at a sale, there's before, during, and after. Before and doing have been cannibalized, right? By the internet. After is the only area compete on. Fran, can you mute yourself? That's the only area left to compete upon. So how dialed in are you? Because this is what I want to talk to you guys about, right? In the rest of the time we have, and I want then a couple people to practice role playing, is this. If you don't start servicing your clients better, artificial intelligence and the internet will. My cousin has been an AI programmer, and I was talking to him this past weekend, since 2011. He actually worked on Ori's, our co-founder's project at Google, had his own tech startup that raised over $100 million of capital, right, based on his algorithm. And I was talking to him about this as he just bought his first home. And yes, he used a Compass agent. And, you know, he was saying to me, I was like, well, what do you want to know? He's like, what's interesting is, he goes, I might just make like my own program where I could give it information and then it could scour the internet to find what I want, because I just moved here, my wife's pregnant and I have a new baby, but I know nothing about the area. And I don't know if my realtor will actually stay in touch, because that's what all my friends have happened to. But he's like, I need to know, live here. So I was like, you're telling me you could make your own, like your own code, your own program, where the more information you tell it about you, the more it automatically pulls the things in Google and sends it to you? He's like, yes, it's just like Amazon. The more information you give it, the more personalized it becomes. Guys, that's not far away for all of us, right? Now, remember what I said in the beginning, the lifetime value of your customer? Look at those two numbers, right? If you're not working that relationship, there's somebody in a VC fund somewhere that's waiting to do that. Because what you guys have to realize is for a lot of these businesses, that customer that bought a house, think about all the stuff you said, doctors, referrals, local businesses. You have that customer and you have that relationship. How many other things does that power? There's a thing called affiliate marketing, right? You send someone a customer, they send you money back. There's an entire business model around all this stuff. So how focused? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You know, not just we, meaning like the real estate industry, discusses keeping in touch with buyers. But if you work with a lot of sellers, you know, and they maybe even move to another community that you're not part of, you know, as a real estate professional, what are your suggestions on keeping in touch with them? Because obviously they don't need local advice when they move to a totally different area that you're not familiar with. But you want, you know, besides marketing information.
So as you're doing this, right now, this is where you really humanize relationships. Even that accountant that's a spreadsheet person, underneath that, they're a human being, right? So go on to things like, everyone should have a Crystal Nose account, right? Like, and if you haven't tried Crystal Nose, it's unbelievable, right?
What is
like,
that?
I'll share this with you, and I'll let Amit talk a little more about how he uses it. Is that it's a program, it's worked through LinkedIn, right, Kim? Like, I know you're all over LinkedIn, and literally, I kid you not, like, you go to LinkedIn, like whatever the subscription is, I believe it's worth the money. It will tell you all of a person's interests, how to communicate with them, what they like, what they don't like. If you want to have a conversation about sales, like, it is crazy, right? Like, literally, I remember sending Rory his thing, and he was like, whoa, this is awesome. And then he was like, holy shit, like, how does this thing know this about me, right? My thing is spot on. So many people's are, right? That's one. Number two, I'm going to put it in the chat. Crystal knows. So the second thing is, Heidi made a good suggestion here, right? Send the subscription to the local paper or magazine. So Kim, if you know someone's moving somewhere, right? Get them something. Get them something for when they're going to be there, right? So like, look, you guys all have agents in all of these other markets at Compass, correct? So find out from them what would be most helpful, right? Like, you know, if Kim reached out to Julie in Philadelphia and said, hey, my client's moving there, I know you work there, like, I want to stay in touch with them. What are like 3 or 4 things that would be really helpful that I could provide them, right? That I could either pay for or subscribe them to, or kind of do that. Collaborate with people. The best thing you guys have is each other. It's not me. It's all of you, right? So start thinking through this. But look, what you want to do is find other people in the group that focus on listings, right? And then you guys should set up another time as well, just to connect and start building out your strategies together, right? So look, people that are sellers are moving somewhere else. But the other thing is, this is why you need to track everything in your CRM, right? You need to track their personal interest. If you find out any important dates in their lives, holidays, just be a human being, right? Like, they know you're in business. And if they move, the odds are they're in a point in their lives that their friends are moving too, right? So look, handwritten cards are great. Random occasions are great. Sending people random gifts is great, right? Like Angela Swift, who's not here today, her entire business is built on gifting, right? And Angela tripled her business from, I believe, 23 to $68 million last year. 90% is past clients and centers of influence. And she spends tons of money on gifts, and it comes back in spades, right? And like, listen, I don't care who you are. Everyone likes getting a gift. If you're a guy on Wall Street, believe me, you send someone a $150 bottle of scotch, a $200 bottle of scotch, you're gonna be very happy, right? People know that if they do nice things for me, I'm notorious for sending people bottles of Dom P for a champagne, because I believe that all great things are worth celebrating in life, right? But that's my personal touch, right? I always send a nice handwritten card. I thank somebody, or I share something that's just personal, and I send a bottle of champagne, because I believe everything in life is celebration. But what you guys want to think about is, if you don't pop the question and build yourself into the relationship, you're done. You're gone. Like it's over. They have no idea, right? So go through this list and build out a master list. I know a lot of you guys like speak to each other outside of here as well. Like, make a master list and work on this with your group, work on this with your team, and then have an actual plan, right? If you know people are asking for contractors, make your entire list one time. But on the flip side, let your vendors know, hey, I'm sending this list to every person I know that's moving here. Who do you know that's looking to move that you can refer me to? You got to pop the question to them too. People don't know to give you business unless you ask for it. And no one besides people that have worked in a corporate job gives a busy person more work, right? So if you're, if someone's looking around and they see Jody and she's really busy and she's doing a lot of showings, because here's the other thing, you guys are set, like when people teach social media, that what people don't realize is they set you up for failure. Now, we're all taught to look really busy on our social media, right? Share what we're doing, share the market's great, this is just sold, blah, 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 right? However, if I'm looking at that social media thing, the first thing I'm going to think is, wow, do they have time to work with me? Or do I really want to send my referral? They're doing really well. It is our job to develop these relationships and let them know we are open for more, right? If I didn't tell all of you that we want more coaching clients, how would you really know? You'd say, Chirag looks like he's really busy, right? I have a business coach too. And I sent him one of my recordings, and it says, if anyone knows you, this is my feedback. They know you're a really nice person. They know you really care about helping people. They know you're a serial giver, and they also know you're busy. I go, okay. And they said, based on those 4 things, no one would ever think about giving you a referral. And I kind of just stopped and I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, those are those 4 things. You want more clients? I go, absolutely. And he goes, well, then you have to tell people. Because if people think those 4 things of you, they're not going to send you more business. Some people might, but he's like, 80% you're missing out. So start thinking about this for yourselves, right? So let's walk through the framework of this so that we kind of put this all together and leave people with some takeaways and a couple minutes of questions. Number 1, obsess over the lifetime value of a customer. If you don't understand financially how valuable these relationships were, you'll never put the time into doing this. Number 2, have a clearly defined process that you share with your clients, right? Like if I was sharing this with someone, you could say, I really appreciate the opportunity of you working with me. And look, if they've shared something important, like insert something, right? And then it's more than a transaction. You shared about, most people share about their family, their friends, their relationships, their finances. And I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to ask you a question. They're going to say, would it be okay if I continue to stay in touch with you after the transaction? And what do you think they're going to say? And if somebody says no, who cares? At least you know not to waste your time calling, emailing them, text them. Do not use that as a crutch, a handicap, or an excuse not to contact people. right? They're going to say, yeah, that would be great. Insert the things that you like to, the things that you share with people. Hey, Josh, while I have you here, what else would be valuable to you after you move that you're thinking about or having a hard time finding on the internet? Keywords, having a hard time finding on the internet.
Well, hard time finding on the internet. Where are the good, happy hour specials in town?
Okay, so perfect. So like ask them, right? They'll start telling you, but this opens the door. I'd say, great. We just like to kind of check in on a monthly basis. We know that, your home's where you build your memory, a community, or your neighborhood is where your life happens. And we want to make sure that we provide you the best things we know as we've been part of this community forever. Who's going to say no to that? And if they say no to that, I'm not going to use a profound word at 9:57 on a Monday, right? But they're a beep hole, right? But if they don't want to, that's fine. And then you could say, Josh, that's all right. Like, I'm good. We appreciate the work you did. Like, okay, great. I completely understand that. Do you still want us to help you share the market updates so you can track the value of your largest financial asset? And they're going to say, great. Quarterly, we send reports. We'll call twice a year just to see if you have any questions. And that's really it. But look, great salespeople, even after someone gives them an objection, they close again. Right? So now there's things that they're moving in for. There's a financial aspect to this. You guys are going to make a plan, right? Number 3, track all of these requests. I'm telling you, the more we go through this, the more you're going to hear this. Obsess over these things because this is your entire career. You learn this and nail this once. It's a better customer experience. It saves you time. You make more money. It's done, and then you can build on top of it. How many things do we do in this business every single day that you do for your entire career that people still don't know? I'm still waiting to find one agent that can tell me that I met for the first time that they know how to answer every objection that a seller has on a listing presentation. Like they're having a conversation with their best friend, right? Like it's that thinking that is going to change this for you. But like, remember the 4 phases of real estate, right? Phase 1, essential skills. Phase 2, generating enough lead. Phase 3, leverage. Phase 4, scalable systems, right? But if you really don't know how to work with people, even if you generate leads, you're going to be doing more harm than good, right? If you don't know how to generate leads, you'll never grow your business to a point where you can add leverage. And if you can't add leverage, you're just a solopreneur and you're trading time for money. And once you have scalable systems, your business is scalable, it's repeatable, it's profitable, it's predictable. And that's where people are hitting that 7 figures plus a year. And we're going to do a whole training on that. So just, I could see you guys like, ooh, this is interesting. But these are the thinkings of people that can create scalable businesses, right? Whether you're an individual operator or a person with a big team, this stuff doesn't change. So the last thing is be consistent with what you do. I don't care what CRM you're using. I'm going to talk about the Compass one. There's a thing that says add task. You can add a task. You can create your own action plan. The action plan could remind you 30 days after somebody moves, call them, right? Like there's free tools around you that if you follow these 3 things, discipline, consistency, and patience, you will outdo every single person that you work against in your market. I promise you. I have seen it like clockwork over and over and over again, right? Like you see Justin said that within the first year, he had an 80% increase in his conversion rate on listing presentations, right? But he practiced every single day. Luciana sent me an email that says she did $22 million in the first quarter of this year. And it's just her, right? But no one has any idea how much time she spent getting drilled on her CRM and role playing and practicing the conversations she has with her sellers. These things are not individual to people, but they're people that have a process, that follow the process and have the patience to know it's going to work in the end. So look, all of you guys are working with clients now, right? Pop the question and realize that the internet has nothing on any of you. If your clients are moving to places and are relegated to going on random Google searches to try to find stuff, we did the job bad. And the last thing I will remind you with is before, during, after. This whole after thing is the only thing that's not cannibalized, and it's where you guys really should be focused on. Josh?
Hey, maybe one of these days would be like a cool morning session to like if you identify somebody that is totally dominant in this Compass CRM, like is like a really good at it, and they are like, here's how I approach it every morning. I go in, I do X, Y, and Z. And like my calls for the day are listed up here. And maybe it's like, okay, so this is like a real pro best practices kind of approach.
Justin?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Justin, you want to do it?
Well, I'm sure I'll do it, but I kind of, I'll be honest, I kind of have a multi-level system, but yeah, we could do CRM basics. I've actually been, Josh, I've been on the CRM support group with Julia.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
All right, guys. So we'll plan that in, right? Now, look, you see how he asked for stuff and we said, okay, we'll do it. If there's specific topics that you have, we're going to start sending out a feedback, one on Monday, the following week on Tuesday, the next one on Wednesday, the next one on Thursday, as each day represents a different type of session. We like to curate the content based on the needs of people, the market, and what's going on. We don't like to sit in a room as a team and just dream up what we think everyone wants. We want to provide real-time content based on what's going on in the real estate world, right? We believe that that's where a real disconnect is. So make sure you share it, right? If you think things are helpful, and don't think about me, myself, and my market. Think about, will this be helpful to the 50, 60 people that show up here every day? Sound good, guys? Listen, thank you for your time. Pop the question, make a difference. And look, if you have questions, like, let us know. And once our app is built, the way that we can all share and mastermind together is like 100x. So we're almost there. So thank you, guys. I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for live role playing. So tomorrow, everybody, make sure to do what you need to turn your camera on, but we're going to break up into Zoom rooms and we're actually going to start practicing this stuff, right? So it's going to be twofold. One, it's going to be practicing how to pop the question. And the second thing is we're going to be creating lists of what all these ideas are. And then we'll share all of our lists together in one master Google Doc. So everyone will have a list of 15 to 20 different things they could do to stay in touch with their clients. A buyer tab and a seller tab. Sound good? All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.